Yes, it's better. Yes. Awesome. So welcome back to Grace.Filled Homestead. My name is Christy, and I have grown flowers for 3 years, but this will be my first year as an official flower farmer on an official farm. And so I thought that I would chat with the experts on starting a mini you pick, and I thought that I would bring you along for this journey. So for this episode, I am talking to Claudette, and she is here from Hortons Flower Farm. She's my fourth guest on Talk to Me Thursday, a place where like minded people can connect about the things that we love and that we're passionate about, growing and selling flowers. And my hope is that this video is encouraging to you. I am in zone 7B, Virginia, and I live on my farm, but Claudette is actually in New York and she has a totally different zone. She actually lives off of her flower farm and she drives an hour there. So I really, when I'm picking people each week, I am strategically picking them. I see something excellent in them, something worth bringing up and bringing out. And so I'm so excited for this interview on today. I want to just welcome you. Thank you for being here and allow you to take this time to introduce yourself.
Me. So yeah, my name is Claudette. I own a U Pick flower farm in Zone 7B, Long Island, New York. And this will be our fourth growing season, but our third season open to the public. And yeah, our story is unique. Our farm is an hour away. And how we got the farm is a unique story too. I really wasn't even looking to start a flower farm. I was just looking to buy wholesale flowers. I was growing on my mom's property, my mother-in-law's property, just trying to grow everywhere I could. And I was talking to the farmer and he said, "Oh, I have these 5 acres available. If you need extra land, you can grow on them." And initially I said to my husband, "There's no way we can do this. Like, I live an hour away. Would this even be possible?" But he's a very yes person and he encouraged me just to give it a shot and said, "Let's just grow one row of flowers." So I
Yeah.
said, "Okay, I think we can handle one row of flowers. Let's do it." So we kind of dived in from there and the story began. And I can go from there, but I mean, yeah, it was exciting. It was nerve wracking, like 30 years that it hadn't been used. So that's my dog in the background. But yes, so hopefully he stops barking. But okay. One sec.
Wow. So all of this started off with just one, wow, with just one bed, one strip.
Okay, I am so sorry about that. Okay. So yeah, so my it gets crazy around here. I just started homeschooling my son actually too. So yeah, we're starting that journey as well. That happened 2 months ago. I hadn't mentioned that on my videos yet, but that's a fun, interesting journey. So we'll see where that takes us. But so we started with just one row of flowers. And actually, when we were thinking of I said, "All right, we're gonna do one row of flowers. Why don't we do 7 rows of flowers?" So we were gonna do like the little starter thing, and then I said, "You know what? Let's just go for it." And it was a lot to start because what I'll say is that was probably too much to start because I just kind of wanted to throw myself into it and try all these varieties, and I didn't really have a market for it yet. I just wanted to try it, and really, that's something that I probably wouldn't have done. It was 7 100-foot rows, which is a lot of flowers. So when I talk about my farm, you don't need that much space to grow and make lots of bouquets. So that's what I really try and push to people now, that you don't need that much space to make a profitable flower farm. You just really don't. So I mean, for you pick flower farm, you do want a little bit more space because it's that eye-catching appeal walking down the rows. But I don't have that many varieties actually. I kind of keep it like 8 varieties of flowers, and it's just the same variety in the row. It's just beautiful, the same variety. I've lessened it now to less varieties of flowers just because it's easier. And I could talk more about that. I'm growing. I The first year I grew like 12,000 plants in my grow room, and that was overwhelming too. That was also too much. So now I have a grower. It's through Farmer Bailey's, and they grow the plugs for me. But I've actually already also found a local grower, which is going to be a godsend because I had some issues with shipping last year. It wasn't Farmer
Okay.
Bailey's fault, but stuff came crushed, and they can't replace it because they only grow for what they get their orders for, so they don't have backups. So I was very nervous last year. I said, "Oh no, what if this happens again?" Like then I'm not going to have the flowers I need. So I actually did order from Farmer Bailey's this year, a couple things, but a couple things are being locally grown, like 5, 10 minutes from my farm. So I can pick them up. I know that they're not going to get ruined in shipping, and it takes the burden off of me. And people have commented on my channel, you get those comments like, well, you're not growing your own flowers. Like, you're lazy. What are you doing? And I said, listen, I'm running a business, and I'm growing on a large scale. And if that's something that's the stressor for me, where I need to do other things for my business, then I'm going to take that burden off myself. Having to baby 12,000 plants is something that I don't want to do. So I'll probably grow 2,000 plants, just like the easy ones for me, like marigolds. I'm growing some marigolds. I'm growing gomphrena because gomphrena is easy for me, and just a couple other things. But as far as now, I'm ordering plugs to make it a little bit easier for myself. So if you're growing on a large scale, it is really helpful.
I appreciate that. I mean, that was a lot of great information. Um, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but when you look at the catalogs, you look online, there's like a million and one beautiful cut flowers, and you want to try them all. And so
Yeah.
I love the simplicity that you keep. And I'm already thinking in my mind, this is probably the key to how you're so successful by just keeping it simple.
Mhm.
Okay, so when I look at your YouTube channel, your top video is how to start a flower farm from scratch.
Yeah.
And then it's followed up by the 9 best cut flowers for a you pick flower farm. So the question I had for that was, what advice could you give us on starting a you pick flower farm? And you've kind of already covered some, but if you have any more, you
Yeah.
definitely can share those.
So my advice would be to do the less variety. So those 9 flowers that I mentioned in there, those mostly are what I'm growing. It's celosia, a couple different varieties, zinnias, gomphrena, not amaranth, ageratum, verbena, cosmos. So I keep it to those. Just those are my main flowers, and the bouquets that people can make with them are just absolutely beautiful. So you don't have to go that crazy. Like I add one thing every year. Like I'm adding goldenrod this year, and not a lot of people talk about that. And I have that wild around the outskirts of my farm, and I'll cut it and put it in my own bouquets. But it's so great on the vase life. So I added, and there's actually different varieties. There's like a white, a light yellow. So I'll add like different things. But so that's what I would do, is do less variety of flowers, and then I would also. So the first year I started, I found a mentor, and I paid for an hour phone call, and she gave me all the things that I needed to do. Like she gave me everything, soup to nuts, like how to irrigate everything, the soil testing, just everything that I would need. Like I didn't want to start this big project if I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm investing a lot of money into it. I didn't want to make a mistake that way. So I wanted to know exactly what she used to irrigate, her farm. And that was really helpful. So we do drip line irrigation, but you can even do overhead irrigation. I know that people don't say that that's bad, but I know a lot of flower farmers that actually do that on a smaller space, and it works fine for them. So you don't have to do drip. If it's easier to do overhead and you want to get started, that's fine too. So yeah, I would say if you're starting, and also if you're starting, I would also, if it's for profit, really, you want to have your target market. You want to know, I know exactly what my costs are. I know exactly how many bouquets I need to to be profitable. I'm trying to meet those. So you really want to know, how many bouquets you need, how many flowers you need, because you don't need that many plants to make those bouquets if you really break it down. And you can look this up. I looked this up once. Like how many flowers one zinnia plant will bloom throughout the season. I looked it up. So I was crazy. I'm very organized. So I think being organized and knowing exactly what the plants put out, you'll get your numbers right. Being organized is important. And then getting help from a mentor who's really telling you, this is how it works with the plant. These are the diseases I see. This is what I spray with. This is how often I spray. Just knowing succession planting is important, and I didn't know that at the beginning. I don't know if my mentor talked about that, but my zinnias died back, I think, 3 weeks before I wanted them to. So now I'll succession plant out. Even the celosia, I'm going to do two successions of it just so that I can extend my season, and that will give me an extra couple $1,000s on the back end that I need to be profitable. So just knowing those couple important things is really important.
Okay. When we talk about succession sowing, this is the question that I haven't found yet, and I've been searching. So when you're pulling out, okay, so you said they didn't last you the last couple of weeks. Are
Hmm.
you pulling those dead plants out and sticking the transplants in?
So
And then, mhm,
yeah, so I'm not pulling them out. So when I say that they're not lasting, they're not producing as many flowers. They're looking very brown. So what I do is I will leave. So I do 3 rows of zinnias. I do a lot. I do three 100 rows of zinnias. So I will start the second row a month later.
okay,
And then so I'll start. So May 21st, my plugs will go in, the first one. June 21st, I did last year, and now I'm going to actually do a third succession. This year is the first year where I'm going to do another one because I felt like another one would have been really perfect. I had a really late succession planting. So because I have all that space, but if you don't and say you only have, a 60-foot row, I would do, 20 plants and then do 20 plants June 21st. So you can still succession if it's a small area. It's just, break it down into at least 2 if you can do it by by August, we're all tired. So
okay.
that 3rd succession is hard to get in there. But,
Yeah,
if you have it planned out and, for the zinnias, I had such a bad germination rate. Like, you can direct sow them, but my germination rate last year was like it was less than 50%. I don't know what happened. We had that weird, in New York, we had that weird smoke, the wildfires down from Canada.
right,
Actually, my
right.
celosias didn't grow tall, so it might have been something due to that. I'm not sure what happened with that, but that's why I'm actually buying plugs this year. And people were like, "Why are you buying plugs and zinnias? They're so easy to grow." But had I not bought those plugs, I would have had no zinnias because those direct seeding ones did not come in. And luckily, I had started some from seed in my backyard at home just in case. Like I always have like the backup just in case. And that's what my flower mentor had said too. You want to have like 20% extra just in case something happens.
Yeah.
So it's good to have
Mhm.
like that backup, and I had it. So yeah, there's all these different variables, but succession is important. And celosia too. Celosia, what happens with celosia is they go to seed, so they don't necessarily die. So it's not as fresh look. I mean, some people like it, but I like that fresh look of celosia. So I really wanted an extra planting of celosia. What plants didn't I need a succession? I'll just say that real quick. Verbena, you don't really need a succession, and ageratum was great all season. That I did not need a succession, and actually the cosmos, I don't need a succession either because they take a while to get going, and then they're actually the most beautiful at the end of October. They're like 6 feet tall and just bushy, so you don't need the succession from my experience. You don't need to succession cosmos, ageratum, um, verbena, and I think and you don't need to succession gomphrena. They're the same sort of thing. The gomphrena look more beautiful as they get to the end of the season. They have like that dried look, so that's beautiful. So really, it's the zinnias that I like to succession. Obviously, the sunflowers, the celosia, um, and actually, if you could do rudbeckia, my rudbeckias, I know, like, if you watch the other flower farmers, the Rudbeckias, they say last them the whole season. I don't know. On my farm, they get the powdery white mildew. They like putter out and they die like in early September. So even though they're a perennial, if I could succession plant them and have more Rudbeckias because I love them, I don't know what it is about my farm. They don't thrive there actually. Oh, and the other plant was marigolds. On my farm, I think there's something in the soil actually. The marigolds have been dying out, like they look like they're set on fire. So if you see it in a couple of my episodes, and that's not normal. Like they should be beautiful until the frost. So I succession plant them out this year, um, and still they died out and they looked like they were set on fire. So I love marigolds. So what I'm kind of probably do is do three successions, but smaller of those because they something happens to them early on the farm. But yeah, succession planting, I think that'll get you through your season and you'll profit more with beautiful flowers. So
I really appreciated all of that, especially with the no secession, because I had in my notes. So the way I'm doing it is I have, for now, I have 7 rows that are 70 feet long and 30 inches wide.
hmm
And I
nice.
broke up that 70-foot row. If you think of it as like 5 15 feet sessions. I kind of did something like that. And so I was doing secession one, secession two, secession three, so that I could have a lot of them. And I had on my list to do the cosmos as secession. So it's good to know, at least based on where you live and your climate and all of your things, that for you, it's not necessary to do that.
Yeah.
So,
No, when they're huge by the end of October, and they're the last ones to go with the frost. Like sometimes I'll get hit with the frost and they're still there, and I'm like laughing like the cosmos are the last to go. So
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. This is amazing. Okay, so number 3 was, if you had to start over, how would you invest your money differently? And what do you think the focus should be starting out? And I'm asking that because we really need so much, especially like not just cut flower farmer, but then you pick, because now we need the buckets and we need the snips. And if we're going to have baskets, or not baskets, but if we're going to have wagons, if we're going to have water and things like that. And so when you're just starting off, especially when you're starting with a smaller budget, it's kind of like, what do I get first? How do I get this? And sometimes it can be so tempting to get all the pretty stuff, like the buckets, like the snips, but really you can get that the week before you open. And so
right,
really the focus should be more on either the infrastructure or the seeds, or maybe we're tempted to get all the balls, but really we need to be focusing on aftercare. So let me hear your take on that. And if my blabbering like made you lose your train of thought, if you had to start over, how would you invest differently? And what should our focus be on starting out?
okay, so first you want to make sure your flowers are safe. So if you have deer pressure, I would put a deer fence, but that can be expensive. So how I fixed that problem was we did a 3D deer fence. So if you look that up on YouTube, it's like wire that runs like I think 2 feet and 4 feet, and then an outer skirt layer of 2 feet. So you can save money that way. So you want to make sure first they're protected, because if you're going to do all this work and then deer are going to eat all your flowers, that's not good. Soil testing is important because if you don't have the right balance in the soil, they're not going to grow. Weed pressure is super important because if we have really bad weed pressure where we are, and even with the landscape fabric that I have, there's so much weed pressure that I actually hired somebody this year, which was like a godsend to weed. But the weeds are important to get rid of because they're taking the nutrients, not only because they look bad, but they're taking the nutrients from their flowers. So you want to first make sure that your flowers are healthy to grow. So those are the first things that I would do. From there, I was very budget friendly on my snips were from Dollar Tree. They were the dollar scissors. I also I think I got from Uline like dollar pitchers. I've now upgraded to mason jars, which I'm getting wholesale also for like $1. So yeah, so I really like to be frugal that way. How else am I frugal? Well, I'm frugal a lot. Everything, all the decor is like from a vintage, like Facebook Marketplace or like thrift stores. So everything that's cutesy is I've got from somewhere cheap. So that way. But yeah, investing in so infrastructure we did need because we weren't living on the farm. I needed a shed. That was to make sure that my the lawnmower was safe and things like that. So that was an expense that I kinda needed, which it was expensive, but these are just, like, the basic things to protect everything for what you're growing. So yeah, I mean, I think that's I'm trying to think what else we did that I would have done differently, but I think just really making sure the flowers are healthy like that first and you're protecting them is most important. like we would just want to grow right away everything, but if your deer are going to eat them all and they're not going to grow and have the right nutrients, find a good fertilizer. That was important the first year. Actually, the first year our fertilizer wasn't that good, and the flowers didn't grow as much. And I remember speaking to another flower farmer, and he's like, "No, you don't have the right fertilizer." So the second year we got the right fertilizer, and they were so much bigger and healthier. So make sure you have the right fertilizer, and don't ask me what it is because my husband deals with that end. But yeah, just having, I think it's like 10, 20, 10, or something like that is the fertilizer we use. I could have that backwards, but there is one specifically that is for blooms quick and big, and that's what we use. So yeah, getting the right fertilizer, weeding, things like that is important. Getting the flowers strong and healthy.
Yeah, I appreciate that in a world of by dahlias and by, all these other things and peonies. I love that you're saying get your fence, check your soil. And I like that. So I have already got my soil tested. That was one of the first things that I've done. I've got that back. I already finalized what amendments I'm using. My situation is slightly different because I'm working on getting my USDA organic certification. So now,
Mhm.
when we talk sprays and chemicals and things like that, I have certain guidelines. But even with those guidelines, it's still important to know and to remember how important the fertilizer is. Okay, so number four, and we only have, I think, like two more. So I don't want to hold you. I know your time is so precious. I want to know what's been your biggest joy and what's been your saddest moment with the U pick, um, or maybe running it. So maybe something that you've seen there or running it. You can kind of have take your spill on that
No,
taker. I'm nerdy and geeky, and so I'm just writing down, even though it's my
yeah.
video and I can go back and
Oh,
rewatch it, but we're not going
definitely.
to talk about
Oh,
that.
that's
So
great. So yeah, so there's been a lot of joys, and yeah, there's been some sad moments. So we'll start with the happy first. So a lot of the happy moments. I remember I'm not in Instagram, Facebook. I'm getting into social media now, but I remember I met someone like, you have to put your farm on social media. So I put my, this is a funny story. I put the farm on social media. It was up on Instagram for only 6 hours, and I got a message from a local magazine that wanted to put me in their magazine. And I thought it was spam. I was like, this is impossible. Like, how could somebody message me? So, luckily enough, somebody had been passing by my farm, and she's like, from the North Forker. So I was in the magazine our first season, like in a full page spread, and it was really exciting. My daughter was in the pictures, and then this year we were featured on the local news. But really, so those are fun things. But really, the best part about it is the people that come into the farm, and they enjoy it so much that they thank me. They thank me for creating this. And a lot of people have said this to me, and it's really heartwarming that they are so appreciative that I did something like this, and they love that my family, I have 3 kids, and they're playing on the farm, and there's a playground, and they're just being free. So they love the vibe of it and what it's all about, and that's really beautiful that they love it so much. So that's really one of the most beautiful things, is when they tell me how much they love it, and I watch the kids pick the flowers, and it's really, really nice to interact. I hear stories of people's lives, and it's really cool to connect with people. So that's really such a beautiful thing. And like, you don't think of that. And I guess maybe this is unique to a you pick flower farm, because you have that time to interact with your customers, where like if they're just picking up a bouquet, they leave. This is a little bit more personal. So it's a beautiful thing. So you'll meet a lot of people. And actually, my mentor had said that to me when I first got on the call with her. She's like, you're going to meet people, and they're going to tell you their stories, like their life stories. They said something about the flowers, and so it's gonna be a fun journey for you. So yeah, so get ready. But so that's the really beautiful part about it. So the little downsides to it is, like, sometimes you feel like you want to quit. You're like overwhelmed with stuff. It's like usually it's like right before the farm opens. Like you're trying to get everything in and you're like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And this is why I hired help because I said, you know what, no matter what it costs, I can't be running back and forth every day. I have to have somebody who's out there who can just check the water for me real quick, who can just do the weeding for me so I don't have to run out there. I don't care if I'm losing money at this point. My farm will be profitable, but I can't lose my mind. And I don't want to quit something I love so much just because weeding is stressing me out or did my water break again. Those have been like the things when you get there and things just keep breaking. And you think everything's fine and you're like, okay, so now we're good. We have everything and the water line will break. The water's not reaching the last two rows. And you're like, what is this flower? You look at the sometimes the first season, I think we were overwatering actually. It was a drought. So we had the water pumping. Like I didn't want the flowers to die. And I sent the picture, to my mentor, and she's like, "I think you're overwatering, actually." And I said, "Oh my god!" So we turn. So it's just like the learning process, not quitting. But I would hire help if you can find help. I would do it, no matter what the cost is, just so that you don't get burnt out. So yeah. So those are the good and the bad.
Yeah, I love that you're prioritizing your mental health. You
Yeah.
didn't say that, but I hear that. And
Right.
I think it's so important. I think mental health is so important. And I think that what you said was key. That you have to be okay first to
Right.
take care of everything else and everybody else. And so it's really interesting how organically this is kind of flowing together because as we're about to go into the last question, my next question is actually how do you balance it all? The farm, being a wife, a mom, and now you're homeschooling. This is my 12th year homeschooling. I homeschool four of my five children.
Oh my goodness.
And so I know, like, whew. But for some of these other people that are going to watch this, how
Mhm.
do you balance it all? And especially having to drive an hour away because that's going to be encouraging for other people who can't just walk out, to their yard and who may also have to drive.
So it's all about organization. Everything for me is charted and like this is what I have to do every single week up until the day I open, until each week succession planting. I have everything planned out. And yes, things don't go to plan, but having it written down in front of you so you can see like I don't have to do this all in one week. I'm doing just this week. I'm doing just this, next week. And my full-time profession, I'm a newborn photographer and I have a home studio, so that's what I do, and I usually do that about 2 or 3 days a week. So I try and balance those days out, giving myself a day off in between, spending time with the kids. And luckily, the kids love the flower farm, so they love being there. And we actually have an RV on the property we bought so that we can sleep there on the weekends. So we're not back and forth on the weekends. Luckily, we are there, so we can. So that's like our little vacation spot. So they love that. So it's like it's work and play. So that's a beautiful thing. And when we're at the farm, before the farm opens, we always go to another you pick like vegetable or fruit farm before the farm opens. When it closes at 4 o'clock, we go to the beach. We go out to dinner as a family. So we balance the time for family time afterwards. And then it's really on the way home from the farm on Sunday, I'm already like thinking, okay, this is what I have to do this week and this is what we're going to get to. So I think it's just really being organized and knowing exactly what you have to do at what time and then letting it go. Like this now I'm not going to worry about it because we're doing it on this day. So yeah.
Do you do paper or electronic planning or both?
I love paper. So actually
Me
paper. Everything's on paper. I am not a technological person. So yeah, all my charting is like myself. So yeah, I have a binder and I keep all my stuff in folders and everything is labeled of everything we're doing. And then yeah, each week I'll make like this is what has to be done. This is what we're gonna do. So yeah. And then yeah, highlighted like last year for the paper, I highlighted like green was like start this flat. Well, now I'm not growing the flowers, but everything was like color coded. Like, all right, this is
Mm.
and so if it was green, it was going in, So everything that's helpful if your seeds start, and I had everything color coded and to know so I didn't miss a plant that I had to start. So yeah.
I love that. I love that so many ways because I'm also growing herbs. I was listening when you talked about the goldenrod, the solidago, because I make this goldenrod balm with it or salve with it, and also I make teas and tinctures with it. So I'm also growing herbs and vegetable and melons and things like that. So that color coordinating sounds amazing. So I watched your video where you talked about I made $1,000 in one day. What? And then I watched the one I made $2,000 in a day. Congratulations! Like when I saw this title, I was like, "Yeah!" I mean, you thought that I made the money. I was so excited and so happy for you. And I know you had no idea, but I was like, woohoo, just like cheering you on and all the things. And so I feel like we've already kind of talked about the question that I had, but I'll say it again anyway, just because I had it written down and I really wanted to get that point out. My question was, how can we keep the cost down to profit the most? Because we want it beautiful but profitable. So I think that we already talked about that, but if there's anything else that you want to add to that, you go ahead and add that. And then if you have any other gems or bonuses, things that I didn't ask that's on your heart to just share, we'll share that and then we'll close.
Okay. So it was how to keep it profit. So I mean, again, how to keep it profitable is really I'm not spending, too much money on things I don't need. So I'm really just streamlining it to I need these flowers. This is exactly how many bouquets I need to make. So I'm not going overboard. I don't do spring planting, like I don't invest in tulips. I don't have that many dahlia tubers. They're actually in the back of my farm and they're not for people to pick, actually. They're in my cottage garden. About those profitable days because I think it's important and this will help you because you're doing a U pick. So that day that I made $2,000 was actually doggy day at the farm. And it was an event and I had posted it on like doggy groups. And I got so much response from that. And people really do love events to come to. And I didn't have events meaning like not, I didn't have like people there selling things. It was just like a themed day. So like a kid's day, I did like a craft and things like that, but promoting it just like as an event and having something, you know, to do there, like, oh, this is a doggy day or something like that. That for me, that was like those were the big days when it was something that was themed. I can't speak to regular flower farmers, but from a U pick perspective, people really like that. So I think this year, so because that was so profitable, I'm going to try and do 3 doggy days once a month. And this year I am going to try and get like little doggy sellers of like treats and different things there, just so that people become interested. And I'm a photographer too, so I was going to do actually that day I didn't get to do it. My camera broke. I left. I didn't have a
Oh,
backup battery, and my car didn't work. But I'm doing like photographing the dogs. So if you can get a photographer there, like pictures on the farm, and they can have family pictures, like a 5 minute mini session. Like people love that for pictures on a U pick flower farm. That's really big. So there's a flower farm. I forget. I follow it, and he is all for photography. He makes most of his money. I forget what his name. Oh, I think it's Papa Posey. He's on Facebook. If you look him up, do you know who I'm talking about? It's
no.
Paz Posey Patch, and he
Oh,
now
yeah.
yes, and he is all for photography. So he makes most of his income from photographers paying him just to use his farm for pictures. So you can market it for really photography. Hold on one second. And that's a great source of income. Even for the photographers pay you to use, your land just to take pictures and stuff. So I would definitely look into his site and then just look into that for yourself to get photographers there.
Yeah. Well, tell us what can we expect from you in 2024? Tell us where we can find you.
Okay. So 2024, I hope to be profitable. So so full disclosure. This year I would have been profitable, but I added a cottage garden onto my farm and that cost me around 4,000. So that was a big investment. Had I not put that in, I actually would have profited in my
Uh,
second year. So I am hoping to be profitable next year. I did a lot of marketing, like online marketing, Instagram, Facebook, things like that. So I hope to be profitable. That's the first thing. And then this year on my YouTube channel, I just started a series on free flower farming course, which is I'm going to go into all these different topics, just like a mentor, kind of like what my mentor gave me. I'm going to give you guys in like each course episode, how to irrigate, things like that. I'll talk about fertilizer. I'll tell you which one it exactly is when I find out. But yeah, so for my YouTube channel, I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to have more events at my flower farm, hopefully be profitable this year. And yeah, so just I'm not growing the farm. It's going to stay the way that it is. Each year I did grow it bigger. This is it. This is the size it's going to be. So yeah, so it's at the size it's going to be. And I'm just excited to just have healthy flowers and more people. Hopefully, with being on the news, I'll get a lot more customers and they'll be repeat customers. So we'll see. I'm hoping for a good year.
Yeah. And so, but I know, like, tell them your YouTube channel, and are you on Instagram, Facebook?
So it is Hortons Flower Farm. Is I think Hortons Flower Farm is my YouTube, and Hortons Flower Farm NY is Instagram because it got hacked last year. Oh, that was actually one of my sad moments. I cried. I had over like 1,000 people, and it got hacked, and they shut down the account. And I had such beautiful content. That was actually one of my lowest moments. See, I forgot that. So that was really sad. But now I'm back at like 1,200 on my Instagram. But so it is Horton's Flower Farm NY is on Instagram, and just Horton's Flower Farm on YouTube is my YouTube channel. So
Okay. Well, again, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It means so much to me. I would like to see if we can follow this up maybe towards the end of the season, and let's talk about how this season went. Did I take your advice? Did I listen? Did I go and get the snips from the Dollar Tree? All the things, and really find out how profitable I was, and if you're okay with sharing how profitable you were. So thank you again for this time and this space. I really appreciate you. I've enjoyed watching your videos. I'm sure I've watched probably close to three-fourths of them. So I do enjoy your channel. Guys, if this was good, would you just give us a thumbs up? And if you're not subscribed, subscribe so that you can see more of these Thursdays. I will be here each Thursday with somebody different discussing something amazing that I see in them. And I think it has value, and that it'll be good information and knowledge and a resource to you. So I want to bring it to you. So until the next video, peace and blessings.